a bit of a reversal, Carol Massar, from what we saw on Friday with a big sell-off, and today it's a big buy the dip.
I know, and I'm trying to figure out like how much has really changed. But having said that, I kind of just keep digging down. There's a lot of gainers in today's session. Semiconductors in particular, guys, up almost 3%. So really some outperformance there today.
I guess the optimism about perhaps Iran wants to talk to find some resolution to this got people more optimistic, Scarlet, but still it seems surprising to me that in an environment such as this, where we are seeing these two powers go against each other, the skirmish in the Middle East, that there is some buying that we're seeing today.
Yeah, it seems the path of least resistance for equities is to continue to go up, whereas the path of least resistance for bonds is for yields to go up. I mean, we've seen the equity market turn around, but yields continue to be higher for a second day.
Yeah, and JP Market Intelligence actually, though, changing their call today, saying that they're now tactically going from tactically bullish to cautious because of sort of the moving away from a buy the dip moment, perhaps. Some saying, look, we didn't have enough of a sell-off to have a really big buy the dip moment.
And that gets to the question is whether we do need to sort of retest back down to some correction levels before you get that reset higher. It'll be interesting to see how those analysts, strategists, expectations, their price targets for the full year and for the 12 months, whether that starts to creep back up given some of the tamp down in the trade rhetoric. We get the closing bells here on this Monday afternoon. Green across the screen with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 300 points or about 0.8%. The S&P 500, a 50-plus point gain on the day. It opened above 6,000, and it's going to close there up about 0.9%. The NASDAQ indices each up about 1.5%, while the Russell 2000 closing out the day higher by 1.1%.
All right, to the S&P 500, back I go. Most names in the index higher today, Scarlett. 364 names gaining ground, 139 to the downside.
All right, let's take a look at the IMAP. The 11 sectors in the S&P 500, 7 sectors are in the green, including the largest ones, communication services, infotech, and consumer discretionary. That reflects all the Mag 7 sectors, and in fact, all 7 of the Mag 7 names are gaining ground as well. So you have 4 sectors gaining at least 1%. The laggards on the day are utilities, healthcare, and energy, each down anywhere from 0.3% to 0.5%.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the individual gainers in today's session. There was a lot to choose from. AMD, that's your number one gainer in the NASDAQ 100, number 2 gainer in the S&P 500. Stock up 8.8%. You really did see a broad rally in the semiconductor space, but Piper Sandler said products unveiled last week by AMD were positive and expects a snapback for the GPU business in the company's fourth quarter. You also had BNP Paribas come out, an analyst there saying in a call on AMD held with Friday with analysts that they sent a reassuring message heading into results next month with AI traction increasing for AMD's Instinct GPUs. So some really a lot of optimism there when it comes to AMD. Estee Lauder, next name for me, number one gainer in the S&P 500, and that stock up just shy of 11%, so pretty much closing at its best levels of the day. China retail sales grew 6.4% last month. That's the fastest pace since December of 2023 and exceeded all estimates. So those names like an Estee Lauder that have a big Chinese exposure really gaining today. I should point out Nike, Starbucks, Canada Goose also gaining in today's session. We also should point out that yesterday some sad news from the Estee Lauder community. That is that Leonard Lauder, which was one of the sons of Estee Lauder, the founder of the company, passing away. A long time, obviously, in terms of running and strategy for that company in particular. And then I just want to mention WBD. I hope I gave the right ticker. Warner Brothers Discovery. Did I mess up?
You messed up.
I messed up.
Hey, but it's still a gainer.
I realized it. Yeah, but that's not where I want to go. But anyway, WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery. That is your number 2 gainer, I believe, in the S&P 500. Forgive me, Finley. I messed up. Up 7.3%. Warner Brothers Discovery, and that's after the company won enough support from creditors to overhaul its debt as part of a plan to split the entertainment giant into 2 separate companies. I'm so sorry.
Can I just add an honorable mention? Because when I ran the most function, the number 1 gainer across all of the tapes was some tiny biotech company, Regencell, which I might be mispronouncing. It was basically a penny stock about a month ago. It's now trading at $59 a share. Wow. It had a big stock split today, 38 for 1. It rallied as much as 400% on the day. This was a stock that had a market cap of a few $100 million just a few weeks ago. It now has a market cap of almost $30 billion today.
What's the short position on that puppy?
I haven't looked, but I'm sure it must be
Not now.
high. Yeah.
Not now.
Wow. Okay, let's get
Which
to
point out
some
it has no
decliners.
profit, no revenue, or anything else. Too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a good honorable mention.
Good honorable mention.
Thank you.
Romaine
welcome.
always has the good honorable
know.
mentions. Hey, let's start with Lockheed
Well,
Martin
not all the
in terms of
time.
decliners today, down 4%. This news just breaking after, and it's not the reason why it's lower. Lockheed Martin did name a new chief technology officer. That just crossing moments ago. We did see U.S. defense stocks erase earlier session gains that we saw today. This after we heard from the president, who said Iran wants to talk about de-escalating the conflict with Israel. Northrop Grumman and L3 Harris Technologies also fell in terms of defense stocks today. Lockheed Martin, though, the worst performer on a percentage basis in the S&P 500. Also moving lower today, energy names among the worst performing sectors in the S&P 500. Diamondback Energy down 2.5%. Energy companies also falling. With oil prices on expectations there would be less disruption to oil supplies. Diamondback Energy, the worst performing energy name in the S&P 500. And then a biotech name that fell a lot today, Sarepta Therapeutics, down 42%. The company's gene therapy for a rare muscle disorder has been linked to the death of a 15-year-old boy. It's the second patient to die of acute liver failure while being treated with the therapy. Shares fell today by 42%.
Ooh, well, on that note, thanks, Tim. I guess I'll go to
Sorry.
yields. So there was a sell-off in the bond market pretty much all across the curve. The back end getting hit the hardest with the yields up by about 6 to 5 basis points. 20-year auction went off without a hitch. But just so interesting when you have these kind of headlines and you're still seeing selling in the Treasury market. Same with the dollar. Just raises the question, at least for me, like where do bonds and the dollar fit as a safe haven asset in your portfolio? I know we're all taking a breath after Friday, but there are still so many risks out there. And yes, they're hard to price, but at least we know that they come from Iran and Israel right now. And yet still we're not necessarily 100% pricing that in at all.
All right, guys, we're going to get to, obviously, we have a Fed meeting this week. They'll be looking at the labor market. We're looking at the labor market on this Monday because if you are a recent college grad, it's not so great. Pretty bad, in fact. Recent college and high school graduates are facing an unemployment crisis. This is coming from the Wall Street Journal today. Overall national unemployment rate, around 4%. New college grads are looking for work. We're talking about 6.6% unemployment rate over the past 12 months ending in May. And that is about the highest level in a decade, excluding what we saw during the pandemic employment spike. So not so great.
As Carol mentioned from the Wall Street Journal, this data from the Labor Department, though, people who are between the ages of 20 and 24 who are looking for work, who have at least a bachelor's degree, young graduates face a higher unemployment rate than their counterparts who've been in the workforce longer, according to the journal. But the gap now is growing wider between adult workers and the young. So those ages 35 to 44 with bachelor's degrees had a 2.2% unemployment rate over the past 12 months. That was up from 1.8% over the prior period.
And legit question on like how much is distorted too about all the layoffs for Doge and government workers, right? Like there's a lot of individuals recycled into the market now. So how does that wind up sort of clouding and messing up the picture?
Yeah, and these young, fresh graduates are not even counted in the unemployment numbers just yet. So you could watch that unemployment rate that the Fed focuses on so carefully tick higher later on this year. Another story we're following is Meta Platforms finally monetizing its WhatsApp unit. It's going to start showing ads in the Updates tab of WhatsApp. I've never used the Updates tab, so this would allow users who don't want to see ads to just continue using WhatsApp for messaging and calling without seeing them. What's the point then? Who's actually going to go in and look for that Updates
There's like
tab?
channels and stuff
Wait,
on the Updates tab.
This tab gets 1.5 billion visitors per day.
Well, why are they going there? I don't understand.
They're looking for updates.
No, but if you look on it, there's like channels, and you can subscribe and follow, and there's like,
And now
for some
there's
reason,
ads.
I have a lot of sports channels on my Updates tab.
They don't know you then.
They don't know me at all. Yeah, they're clearly not tracking me, so there's that.
That's not good targeted advertising for Alix.
But remember when Meta bought WhatsApp back in 2014? I remember this because, Scarlett, I was subbing for you on surveillance
Oh my
because
God.
you are off, and everyone was like, what is this company? This was like 5 people worked there, and it was like per head, they were paying a ridiculous amount of money. Finally, they're going to monetize it.
Well, years later, all the bankers know what WhatsApp is, and so do the regulators.
I look at Meta. It was up almost 3% today, man. They're up almost 20% year to date. I feel like they are kind of firing on all cylinders. I mean, just figuring out ways to monetize kind of all of their platforms. So I guess investors like it. I don't like ads. I'm tired of it.
I want to get away from ads.
Me too. Me too. All right. That's a wrap. Our Monday's over. Yay, almost. That is a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We call it the closing bell. Alix is heading out. Scarlet and Romaine continuing on the close. Be sure to stay with them or stay with Tim and I right here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.